Beautiful young lady.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining today's meeting. We've got the record, and so I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and you will get the meeting started. I don't know whose phone it is, but I'm going to find you some kind of way.
It might have been mine, but I don't see it on the screen.
So, welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Flint. Today is Friday, the 13th, 2021. The honorary bell ringer for Friday, the 13th, 2021. We're beginning training camp, and college football starts at the end of this month. So the honorary bell ringer is University of Michigan senior wide receiver Ronnie Bell, number 8, running away from a Nebraska defender in the photo there. It told me it was a Michigan themed program. She'll see why as we keep going as well. Now for the bell.
Yeah, I might have unplugged it with the you can plug back in.
Needs a little more volume.
Yeah, it worked before. There we go. Just thinking about it.
Give George a call. He can help you.
I see. I tested it this morning and it worked. There we go.
There we
go. And 2 for the price of 1. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
The
to
flag
the flag of the United States of America
And to
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
a
nation,
nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth? Is it fair to
Fair
all
to all
concerned?
concerned.
will it build
Will it build and better friendships?
will it be
Will it be
beneficial
beneficial to all concerned? Today's inspirational message will be provided by Ed Fletcher. Ed?
Thank you, President Kyle. This is something that's called Following Inspiration by Danny Peterson. I totally stole it online. Inspiration can come from anywhere and mean anything. From nature to words and songs with lyrics. There's inspiration to write, to draw, to run, and everything in between. But it was all inspired from somewhere. Through nature, we hope to grow more and cultivate it, or perhaps just admire its beauty. A song can fill us with joy or sadness, but sometimes it helps to just reflect on what we are feeling. Art means something different to everyone. Some see desperation, others see perseverance, and still some see nothing but colors. It all depends on your perspective. Inspiration runs through all things, laced into the very fabric of the world. That's it.
Thank you, guys. That was great. That was great. This month, I want to share a unique Michigan history fact from the month of August. Going back a ways, Reg Lancaster was telling us about the first lighthouse in the United States that he helped build, apparently, in the 1700s, at the beginning of the meeting. And the first graduating class of the University of Michigan totaled 11 students, and they graduated in August of 1845. And what's interesting, and I have one of them behind me, if you look on a Michigan diploma or a Michigan seal, it says 1817, but the college did not offer collegiate level classes until 1841. And in the history, it said, kind of obvious reason was that in 1817, Michigan was a largely illiterate territory. And it took that time to get people a basic level of education before they could first offer collegiate level classes in 1841. And through the wonders of YouTube, we are able to hear from a member of the U of M class of 1845, who decades after he graduated, recorded a video about the benefits of his Michigan degree. YouTube is not my friend today.
The University of Michigan School of Dentistry prepared me for a future in dentistry better than I can ever imagine, and I appreciate it. I sit here now as president of the American Dental Association, and I owe it all to the dental school.
So thank you, Michigan, all the way back in 1845, educating our own past President Ray Gist. So Ray was a member of that. Unfortunately, Ray couldn't join us. Given his age, he's a little bit under the weather on days like today. But Ray's education back in the 1800s allowed him to chart his great path of his career. And if you like that, just stay tuned. We will be having roasts of both past President Ray and past President George this fall. If you didn't like that, still stay tuned because we're still going to roast him. For announcements, we've heard several announcements in the presidential message and at the virtual podium about the Rotary Month, and looking forward to celebrating the Creme with Rotarians coming up in a couple of weeks. But also wanted to remind you, we talked about this a few months ago, but at the end of this month, there's 2 special events honoring members of our club who have passed on. On August 31st at 10 a.m. will be the ribbon cutting and opening officially of the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center at Mott Community College. Had the opportunity to drive through campus last weekend and got to see the Family Life Center. And it is very nice, and it's going to be a great asset for our community. And then also on the 31st of August at 2 p.m., Hal Flynn's memorial service will take place at First Presbyterian. So once again, on the 31st at 10 a.m., we'll have the ribbon cutting of the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center at Mott Community College. It's the old Woodside church site on Court Street. And on the 31st at 2 p.m., we'll have the celebration of life of Hal Flint at First Presbyterian. Do we have any dinner welfare items or guests to be welcomed? I think I just saw one guest come in.
Christina, that's me.
Oh, yep. I didn't know if she got the info yet. So Cheryl Slater is joining us from just in the other room as well. So she is also part of the Alga Credit Union Foundation for Impact. So she is just here to check it all out. So thank you, Cheryl, for joining us.
Thank you, Cheryl. I know you're no stranger to Flint Rotary. You've been a guest many times, and it's always great to see you even in this virtual environment. Do you have any other good welfare or guests to be welcomed? All right. Well then, Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So Lori is having some trouble with her camera. It's not that she didn't want to have everyone see her as well as hear her, but she just is having some trouble there. So glad her screen is working. Sorry for getting an echo. But Lori is the success coach at Alga Credit Union. And what that means is that she works with members, associates, and community members at a whole to helping people set and achieve financial goals. Lori and her team work with local schools, organizations, and most recently the Genesee County Jail through their Ignite program to provide financial education to people from all backgrounds. Lori also serves as the president of the Alga Credit Union Foundation for Impact, and she is here today to tell us all more about this new foundation and the plans moving forward for it. So Lori, thank you for joining us, and I will let you take over.
Thank you so much, Christina, for that introduction. I sure appreciate that. I am sure most of you are familiar with Alga Credit Union, but I thought before I go into exactly what the foundation is and why now, why we've decided to go ahead and do this, I thought I would back up just a little bit and explain why. We are growing, but I thought I'd take you back a little. So Alga Credit Union simplified back in 1951. We became Flint District Consumers Power Credit Union. 1959, we were Alga Federal Credit Union, and you'll notice as that slide is, we have large E and G, the little A with that dash in between. Alga looked a little different. In 1995, we became Alga Credit Union. Today, we are a lot bigger than we were way back in the 50s and even much bigger than we were in the 90s. And just 18 short months ago, we became a $1 billion institution, and we're now a $1.1 billion institution with 14 branches and over 80,000 members. So as we grow, we just wanted to make sure that we're not such a big organization that we still forget about all the things we were founded on and meant to be. And so as Cheryl and I work to build this foundation into what we're about to launch here soon to our community, we really wanted to make sure that our mission never changed. The credit union's mission is to build lifelong relationships. And we do that so well in our community that we wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, no matter how big we get, no matter who's our leader, no matter who is in charge of each department, that our mission stayed the same. The best way to make sure that that always happened for a lifetime was to build a foundation. When we hire associates, we have some expectations, and we expect that they do the minimum of the following each year for our organization. And we ask each of our associates to give 15 hours of their time in community service annually. We have hundreds of events throughout the year. Usually it's 10 to 12 a month that the associates can participate in. And we ask them to join in at the ones that they become passionate about. In addition to that, we ask them to give donations of money. Sometimes they give that in lieu of their community service hours, and sometimes in addition to. We have some associates who hit hundreds of hours in a year and others who hit their 15, but that is our minimum expectation. We even ask our associates to give $20 a year toward Make You Laugh, which happens to be the Michigan Credit Union League's legislative side, so that we can help in political things to help credit unions, and $4 out of their biweekly paycheck for charity. Those are the minimum expectations that we have. Of course, our associates always exceed those expectations, and many of them give hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year to the different places that we promote. This is just a small sampling of those hundreds of events that we allow people to give their time to. We have Big Brother, Big Sister pledges and bowling. We have the United Way donations, Flint Diaper Bank, Children's Miracle Network, which we always push those toward our local hospital, Hurley Children's Hospital, Stuff a Blue Goose, making sure that the kids get their toys from the Salvation Army at Christmas time. Blessed to Be a Blessing, making sure our homeless in our county get socks to warm their feet when they're wet and cold. Our Elga Elves at Christmas time for children so that they're getting Christmas. In the school systems, we work with different people to make sure that those who might not get Christmas do. There's a lot of different things that we're a part of. And as Cheryl and I were working and thinking toward the future of Elga Credit Union, we thought, wow, we really need to make sure that no matter who is our CEO or the head of community or the head of education, that our mission never changes. We can still have people doing things. So we took and thought of the real 3 impacts that we have had and what we want to be in the future. So we built 3 pillars that we began to build upon as we were creating this foundation. And one was financial wellness for our community. The second, community enrichment. And the third, entrepreneurial startup. That's one that we have not yet been a part of, but a part of what our new foundation will be a part of is all 3 aspects. So with financial wellness, we do school financial education, community education, and we give scholarships. And like Christina said, we're now in the realms of parolees from prison, in the jail, and the multitude of places we're able to educate has just been phenomenal. And due to COVID and the things that have happened in the past 18 months, it's kind of phenomenal the different places we've been able to go through video and Zoom and go to meeting and different things like that and make sure that we're able to continue educating. Community enrichment. The thing that we realized was with us not being a foundation and not being a 501c3 prior to building this foundation was that we weren't able to give a donor who maybe wanted that tax deductible receipt. We weren't able to give them one because we weren't a 501c3. Maybe there was a community or even an educational grant that we could have gotten and helped our community with, but because we weren't a 501c3, we weren't able to accept or apply for it. Those were a few things. In addition to that, we didn't have a fair way to even look at doing entrepreneurial startups for all of the business communities that we have around in our area and startups through our local organizations. We weren't able to come up with a good plan without a foundation to really background it and set the foundation for what we might have there. So we've decided as we build this up, you guys are actually our first audience hearing about our foundation before anybody else has. It has not launched to our community yet. We are having our very first foundation fundraiser happening in September, and our launch to our associates will actually go out in September as well. And so you guys are really receiving a very sneak preview of what's to come. But before we ever even tell the community about it, we're going to our associates first, and we're reminding them where we were built, why we were built on it, what we're doing in the community. And we're going to ask our associates before we ever ask any community members to help the foundation. And we know that if our associates believe in it and they're willing to put their money toward it, then our community would be too. Our members will be second, and then our community will be third. So like I said, you're really receiving a sneak preview of what we're doing. I'm going to just share with you how we're going to structure and build our foundation. So the first aspect of this foundation, before we can ever give away money and think about giving grants and all these ideas that we have to raise an endowment fund. So Cheryl and I have a game plan of how we will raise that $1 million initial endowment. And Elga Credit Union has generously given us $1 million to match every dollar that comes in to the foundation endowment. And that will be a $2 million endowment to start us off. And what we would like to do with that, those people who are really a part of that main endowment, so that what we do here in our community can happen forever. You were talking about U of M and the foundation that they've built from the 1800s. It would have never been today in 2021 what it is had it not been for those founders back in 1814 who saw those needs and were able to get us to that first class of graduates. That's what Cheryl and I are working right now, is to build that foundation so that 100 years from now, Elko Credit Union Foundation for Impact will be hopefully looking to impact our great, great, great grandchildren and your great, great, great grandchildren, right? Because we will be generations out there and be able to continue what we've done today. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is a sign that will be on a wall in our new headquarters building in Grand Blanc as it opens at the beginning of 2022. And we will have different giving levels and such on all the different parts, as far as the wall, the hands, and the heart. The heart there in the center are our larger donors, the hands a little bit less than that, and on the sides, the smaller donors. And we're going to do a lot of fun things with the sign to let people be able to come into that headquarters building and see something that was in memory or honor of somebody or different things like that. And they will be a part of giving an education community and entrepreneurial startups for our future, for today and for our future. So how we're going to do that is take that $2 million investment, invest it, and each year, beginning hopefully in 2023 and beyond, we would have an additional $100,000 just in interest income, which we'll be able to give back to our community each year through the 3 different channels that we talked about. What the foundation will do in addition to our interest income is we will have 5 annual fundraisers that will be our main focus, where we're raising big dollars each year for those. Those in time could change as the passion of the board of directors for the foundation changes and things like that. They might focus on a different area, but right now what our board is committed to helping in our community is the annual diaper drive. When we started this several years ago, it brought in 10,000, and then the next year 20, and the next year 30 and 40, and it continues to get bigger and bigger. And now Elko Credit Union has been raising over $100,000 every single year for the Flint Diaper Bank. So as we talk about education and we're passionate about education, the interesting thing we find out is that when our babies in our community are not properly diapered, their education is lacking because they can't even get the main emotional needs met that they need. And so that's a big passion of Elko Credit Union, to make sure our babies in our community are being diapered properly. That is a big event for us. Another thing that we take care of each year, or will be focusing on, is the ginormous tent sale that we have in August of each year. And we donate every bit of money that we get from the ginormous tent sale, and that usually brings in anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 each year. And that goes back to Catholic.
That'd be for the trip.
Are we okay? We have the ginormous tent sale to be able to fund a portion of Catholic Charities needs. And as many of you know, that is the Center for Hope in Flint, Michigan here, that really helps our homeless and our less fortunate to get the things that they need, anywhere from utilities or food and clothing and things like that. We want to make sure that we're helping that area because that will help our community. The very first annual Raise the Purse event is happening September the 17th. We are just about a month away from our first big event. Ticket sales are now going, and this will benefit Children's Miracle Network's Hurley Children's Hospital. And we expect to start that event with somewhere in the realm of $15,000 to $20,000 in donations as an annual event that we'll be giving to. The Policeman's Ball will be kicked off in 2022, and that will fund our Crime Stoppers and Voices for Children. Not fund them, but be a donation to them, because we know that keeping the crime down in our area as well as protecting our children are a big deal for us. And that's something that Elko Credit Union believes in and wants to make sure we give to in the future. And then the Stuff the Blue Goose event, we love to help the Salvation Army and toys for our children at Christmas time, especially if their parents are locked up and those things aren't being provided. We like to make sure that that happens. So once this foundation continues to grow and the endowment continues to grow and our events and things like that, on top of it, those aren't the only 5 events we'll give to. We actually we'll give to many more projects than that. Anytime we'll get somebody who's, let's say, a baseball team or some of those smaller things, that'll still go through the credit union, not the foundation. But the other big organizations like those that I just mentioned that are 501c3s that would also need money, but they're not our main 5 events, would write grants for things that they would like us to be a part of and help out with in our community. And our board will look at those applications and review them to see if they match up with ALGA's mission and if it really is to build lifelong relationships in our community. And if it hits one of those 3 pillars. And if it does, then we would take that to the board for consideration and a vote for how much we would be able to fund that based on the funding we have. That's a small little portion of what we've got in the wheelhouse as of yet. That's all that I'm able to share at this point about what's going on with the foundation, but I sure appreciate the invitation from Christina Church today to allow us to share with you what we're doing, what we plan to do forever, and how we plan to do that. I'd like to open it up at this time for any questions. If any of you have sparked anything from our talk today about the foundation to know any other information.
Thank you, Lori, for that great presentation. And Rotarians, if you have a question, please unmute and ask Lori. Lori, while people are unmuting, you talked about the minimum requirements, but I know just from the elder people that I've seen in community at events, many of your associates go above and beyond that minimum expectation. Can you talk a little bit or share with us how you've embedded that sense of community into the culture at the credit union?
That's a great question. We have thousands of hours that we end up giving in total amongst all 237 associates just in our community involvement that we put on. Apart from that, we have thousands more hours that our associates can get involved with, maybe their local boards and Rotary clubs and different things like that, that we don't even count. We don't let them count in our count because it's not a community service. It's more of a specialty board and things like that. The way that we do it is we really choose a certain kind of a person when we're at the interview period. We know that we can't change somebody's heart to want to feel that way for the community. It's something that's usually always there already. And we kind of learn that through the interview process. And we know that we aren't going to be able to raise somebody if they're already an adult. That should have happened in their younger rearing stages. And so those are things we're looking for when we hire people is are you a servant? Do you have a servant's heart? And if you have that for the community and for whatnot, we kind of tend to know how to pick those people out. And then we, from the first day they're here, we engage them and let them know exactly what we have available to have them volunteer for. And they're willing participants and they are ready to sign up.
I'll piggyback off of that a little bit. I think another piece, aside from finding the folks who are open and interested in that type of a commitment through work, but we also allow associates to champion events that they're passionate about. So if someone wants to, when you see us out at parades, generally those are associates from those communities who say, I want to champion this. And then they get the information out to other associates to join them. And they work with our department to make sure they have everything they need if they're giving out candy or trinkets or they need a banner. But we really allow associates to find those events or organizations that they're passionate about, and then they drive that. And so having that freedom to be involved in things that you are interested in helps people want to be more involved, for sure.
May not have been a good fit at Elga because I worked at a community bank early in my career and we had a similar setup, and I would always volunteer for setup because that was usually Friday afternoon and it wasn't on my weekend. So I had my free time to myself, but I would do setup for the parade or something.
That's a pretty smart way to go about it, for sure.
Yeah. Other questions from Rotarians for Lori?
Lori, can you talk a little bit about maybe the board and how we have representation from both the community, or our membership, I should say, and our associates?
Absolutely. So on our board, we have on the associate side a our community director, who is Cheryl, our education director, who is me, and then we have our current CEO, and then somebody from our board of directors for the credit union. So those 4 positions, no matter who, it's not a specific person, it's a specific seat to the credit union. Those 4 will always be a part of the foundation. So community education, somebody from our board, and somebody who is the CEO. Those 4 won't change. In addition to that, we have opened up seats for other associates within the organization who really feel like they have something to give and they really want to be a part of it. So it's an application process so they can get on the board. It'll be a 2-year term for them. And then at the end of the 2-year term, we would go through that same process again for the other seats. And then in addition to that, we have community seats for those who are in the community that want to be a part of the foundation, and we allow them to fill out the application, and then the board makes those votes to get those people on the committee as well. So this year we are fortunate enough to have our main seats that I talked about. We have 4 ALGA associates who are really working to help us launch this and build that endowment. And then we have 2 people from the community who have graciously come aboard. And then once we have had the board elected, we also voted in a secretary and treasurer. So those are positions that come on and off as far as who the person is that serves. So thank you for that great question, Christina.
And I saw some great comments from Jane Odell and Joel Fike in the chat as well. Thank you for those. Well, Lori, in your honor, a donation's been made to the Rotary International Foundation to support the eradication of polio, which is one of the goals of Rotary's international philanthropic work. So we thank you for your presentation. And even though the camera's not working, I don't know if you want to run over to, well, I guess because of COVID, you can't run over to Christina's office, but if you could, we would have you do that to wave. But I'm sure with restrictions, you can't be in the same room. So we understand, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed being a part of all of the conversation today and hearing each of you and understanding more what Rotary does. I loved your little breakout sessions. I joined a couple and listened to a couple of different ones along the way. Group 4 and Group 1, I was able to hear a little bit on each one. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and I appreciated being a part of your group today.
Thank you. Thank you also to the following Rotarians for your service during today's meeting: Ed Fletcher for your great inspirational message, Christina Church for our speaker introduction, and Amy Krug, who's taking notes for our bulletin. Please join us next week for a virtual meeting with guest speaker Trooper Steve Kramer of the Michigan State Police. If you've not met Steve, I've worked with Steve actually on a project with Elga a couple years ago in the community. Steve is incredibly passionate, wonderful person, great in our community, especially with young people. As a law enforcement person, a great person out in our community. Definitely you want to come back next Friday to hear Steve's presentation, and we look forward to seeing you then. Please remember, as you go about your day over the weekend and next week, to serve to change lives. There. Worked a little better for the end of the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much and enjoy your weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Kyle, we've only got 5 people signed up so far for the CRIM. So I was going to pull the list from 2 years ago and start making some calls to people that participated. Okay. But anyone that you talk to in the next week or so, if you just remind them it's not too late to sign up. We'd love to have
at our board meeting Monday. Amy's going to distribute lists. We're going to actually, as part of membership month, mention just to check in on people, but that's a great talking point. I wanted to have an update for in person, but with the variant, the food bank doesn't they're
Yep.
still figuring things out. So that's a great thing for us to know. Call to check on you, and also, if you're able to volunteer. So I'll mention that
Okay,
at the board meeting for people to have that as a topic of conversation or something to bring up.
perfect. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention.
Mike, how
Thanks.
many do you need?
I need 20.
Okay.
20 would be ideal.
And do we reach out to the other clubs, or you've already done that?
Al Tucker's being the liaison between Sunrise and all the rest of the clubs. So he's collecting that. I'm just responsible for the Flint Club participation.
Oh,
So,
we need 20 from Flint or 20?
yeah, we need 20 from Flint.
Oh, wow.
We have 9 intersections to cover. We need 3 people at each intersection. That's 27. We need 16 at the water station, so that's 43 total. And I think between what Al's got and what I've got, we've got about 20 people so far.
Okay.
So we're stretched. We got 2 weeks to go. So, yeah, if whatever you can do, I'll start making some phone calls. Some people that participated 2 years ago that I haven't heard from, like Dan Craney and Howard Downing and some of those folks. Yeah, whatever the board can do to help that participation, that would be wonderful.
Okay, great. I'll mention that.
Okay. That's all I got. Have a great weekend.
Okay. And Ray wasn't here. I gotta call him and tell him I made fun of him when he wasn't here to see to hear it. I gotta call Ray.
Oh,
Yes. When I saw that, that's the first thing I thought of, and I'm like, I wonder if there's a video of Ray talking about being a Michigan man. And sure enough, there's like 2 clips. There's that one and the one that was like 2 minutes long. So
who's the iPhone that's going to be running by my house?
that was Jerry Beadle.
Oh, was it Jerry? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I
have
can't make fun of him because he doesn't have power, so he's on the spot.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I'm not the one to say anything about that.
I see he's still on, so I'll just Jerry, I'll have the tripwire ready for you. So when you come by.
All right. See you
All right,
guys.
see ya. Yeah, bye-bye.
See ya. And ladies. Yeah.